everybody! Have you heard about the Drunken Peasants Patreon? It helps support the show while getting you some cool perks. Check it out! For $1 per month, you get to use our exclusive fan chat that appears at the bottom of the screen on every episode. For $5 per month, you get 2 new private shows, including Actual Mania, as well as our back catalog of private shows, plus all lower tier perks. For $10 per month, you get all of our monthly video content. This includes multiple post shows, our monthly reviews, our back catalog of all that content, plus all lower tier perks. For $15 per month, your name will appear in the ending credits of each DP episode, plus all lower tier perks. For $25 per month, you get to take part in our monthly booking committee hangout to help us book our Patreon content for that month, plus all lower tier perks. For $33 per month, you get an exclusive piece of DP merch each month, plus all lower tier perks. For $50 per month, you appear in the opening credits for each DP episode, plus all lower tier perks. For $100 per month, you get to join us as a guest on an episode of the Drunken Peasants podcast. Plus, you guessed it, all lower tier perks. Visit patreon.com/DP now to become a patron of the Drunken Peasants podcast.
In the beginning, there was nothing. And then there was the Drunken Peasants podcast.
I gotta get away with this. No!
Say, man, you got a joint? No, not on me, man.
I don't have facts to back this up.
It'd be a lot cooler if you did.
That's true. Sometimes I cry.
Oh!
Lick my butthole, he laughed.
From the strangest corners of the internet, here to bring you opinions of the world from an altered perspective. Here are your hosts, the Drunken Peasants.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Drunken Peasants podcast, episode 1299.5. Doing it live, 1299.5. Everyone, please like the stream and please pay attention to what I'm about to say. If you want to watch this month's Patreon movie review, please sign up on our Patreon, patreon.com/DP, $10 level or above. Immediately following tonight's episode, we will be doing a live reaction to Deathstalker, the last great warrior king. So it's like an 80s barbarian movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Starring both Richard Hill and Richard Brooker. Double the Richards.
And Lana Clarkson. No idea who any of those people are.
And Barbie Benton. You got to know Barbie Benton, right?
No. No.
What? Wasn't she like a Playboy girl or something?
I have no idea. I don't know
why that name stands out to me. I
don't
swear
know.
Barbie Benton was like one of those 80s Playboy girls.
Ask Kendall. He might know.
He needs to draw Barbie Benton.
Welcome to Luke Reacts. Today I'm going to draw
Yes.
Barbie Benton. I'm going to shrink her head and grow her boobs sevenfold.
She was not only appeared in Playboy magazine, but she had a 4-season regularship on the comedy series Hee Haw.
Yeah, they had a lot of TNA on Hee Haw back in the day.
Hee Haw.
Yeah, my parents used to watch that, so I remember Hee Haw for sure.
I never watched Hee Haw.
Yeah, it was like hillbilly sketch comedy with a lot of TNA and music, like country musical numbers and that kind of shit.
I think the only knowledge I have of Hee Haw was they do infomercials selling like best of CD collection or VHS collections of Hee Haw.
Yeah, they would.
I was
do
like,
that.
oh, Hee Haw, they have boobies.
Everyone, please like the stream if you haven't already. We're gonna go into our beginning segment. Here we go.
I should turn off that goddamn internet.
Oh, don't touch me. Don't touch me. DP, are they going to touch me?
I have gotten messages from both Hell's Only and my mom saying that Barbie Benton was Hugh Hefner's girlfriend back in the day.
Today's Antagonism segment is brought to you by The Goal. Help us meet the goal. Please use the link in the chat and send us some dollars in a wonderful, funny message, and we'll react to it live on the air. Thank you. And we're gonna check this out right now. We're gonna get everyone up to date on the Vince McMahon lawsuit that happened. And for those of you who are about to touch your keyboard and whine about how you don't care about wrestling, we're not talking about wrestling. Like, we're not going to discuss like suplexes and storylines. We're going to talk about a real life thing where a multi-billionaire that just sold a multi-billion-dollar company is being sued, and the allegations in the lawsuit are insane. And we're gonna, it's his wife worked for Trump on Trump's cabinet.
Yeah,
he's a powerful man.
This is salacious celebrity drama, crime, mystery. We're going to figure out some things here tonight. If you think this is pro wrestling, you're terribly mistaken.
There's
icky stuff.
There's a weird like pro wrestling.
Some money for the
Thank you,
boys, Ben and Billy. Meet the goal.
Meet the goal. Now, there's a weird like pro wrestling phobia that people have, where like they're uncomfortable with the fact that it's like a story, like predetermined, even though they like other things that are predetermined, like movies and shit. It's just like, and I don't know. And because of that, anything remotely related to it makes them feel icky for some reason.
It's because they felt like they were lied to, because they were taught to believe it was real when they were young. Nobody gets his way over Santa Claus.
I never thought it was real. Like I don't know. And if you were born like after 1987, that like when you were old enough to start watching wrestling, they had already admitted it wasn't like on the level. I
believed in pro wrestling until 1995. It was November of 1995 when my father took me to my first wrestling show. He was surprised I couldn't figure out it was fake at the wrestling show, so he told me it was fake. And then I thought to myself, well, now I want to be a pro wrestler.
Vince McMahon admitted
to kick my ass.
Vince McMahon admitted publicly in court that it was a work before that, like during the whole steroid trial and everything.
Then. I was 12. I didn't watch court drama then.
Earlier, just a couple hours ago, I had the opportunity to speak with Janelle Grant's attorney. Her name is Ann Callis. She is a former chief judge of the Illinois 3rd Judicial
I don't like the
Circuit.
way
Here's
they call this a blistering sex suit.
Blistering.
No,
maybe it's a literal suit. Maybe it's like a it like blisters you, and it's a weird sex suit. And Vince
many
McMahon
of the sex toys he used supposedly left her brutalized, possibly blistered.
I like German.
I saw a good German suplex today by Melissa McCarthy in the movie Spy.
Judge Callis, thank you for agreeing to speak with me this evening. As I read the...
So they call her a judge still, but what she is the attorney of the person suing Vince and the WWE and Laurinaitis.
Complaint. The allegations they're alarming. They are repulsive. They're also extraordinarily egregious. And they...
Okay, I just want to say, Vince McMahon has always seemed like a psycho to me. So if this is all true, I wouldn't be surprised, but I don't know. At this point, all they did was put it in a lawsuit. And there's been like DMs and texts leaked, but I don't know if they've had any experts analyze them to see how real they are or not. But I guess it would have to go to court before that even happens, and they'd have to subpoena phone records and all that kind of shit.
Because of how crazy Vince McMahon is, whether it's character or not, I'm going to say that he has to prove himself innocent on this one.
They feel like they certainly meet the criminal.
How does he do that?
He's got to prove himself innocent.
How does he do it? I heard you say that, but how does he do it?
He's got to show evidence that he didn't do any of this stuff.
How can you do that? How can you show evidence that you didn't do something?
Proving that he was not around at times like this with people like this to show that he did anything.
Threshold.
How could you? People do it all the time, Ben.
Was there any reason why this was not a criminal case? And is the statute of limitations passed? Has that ship sailed?
They don't have to prove their innocence. They just have to have reason.
They're assumed innocent.
Dude, I'm not going to argue with you about this. No, they don't prove it.
They still prove they're innocent.
No. When you go to court and you're not convicted, it's not guilty. It's not innocent.
Yes, it's because our court system is innocent until proven guilty.
It doesn't mean you're innocent. Not guilty does not equate innocent.
I don't believe so, but I represent her in this civil matter and cannot really comment on any criminal matters right now.
If you were to characterize this in your, long legal profession, I mean, for heaven's sakes, you've reached the status of judge. Where would you place?
Hire Eric's rockstar lawyers. Can Isom save Vince from this one?
Yeah, he'll just have to put a little asterisk at the bottom of all of his TV shows now that says that he is not innocent.
This case and this extraordinary complaint on the spectrum of things that we've been hearing, certainly since the Me Too movement got started.
Well, what happened to her was particularly egregious when it comes to the sexual slavery she endured.
She is going to have to prove that her accusations are true. He doesn't have to prove anything.
Stating
that's how this works.
That's our court system.
Consequences that happened to her physically
the joke I was
and
making
mentally
is that
when she was going through this, and still
what a known scumbag he has been on TV throughout his career.
Through this with PTSD, she had suicidal ideation. But I was a criminal felony judge for 9 years. So the worst cases actually went to trial, and that is murders and sexual assaults. But this is in its own class. This is in its own class of the depravity that she had to endure.
Can I ask you about the timing? Why now? Because it certainly seems like the alleged behavior went on for quite some time and started quite some time ago. So why are we now hearing about it?
Well, it was a process, and it was an approach with our legal team and also with Janelle, our client.
Okay, so from everything I'm hearing, she's 43, but when I saw this picture, I thought she looked like she was in her 20s, at least early 30s. But maybe it's, there's filters and makeup and stuff, or maybe who knows when this picture's from.
This could be an older photo as well.
Yeah. I've only seen one other photo of her, and it was from a news article from before she was working at WWE. It was from like 2018, and it was from her apartment building, that she did some kind of like charity drive for kids' school supplies.
Yeah.
And it was definitely her from this picture.
It was an arduous, long, systematic drive to get the best complaint that we possibly could. And that's when it fell to file yesterday. Also, you mentioned some of the details and abhorrent facts, but we're going against the WWE, a multi-billion-dollar corporation who turned a blind eye to what was happening there to Janelle.
Yeah, and like the UFC basically bought Vince McMahon's lawsuit from him because WWE is getting sued, but it's getting sued based on what happened while Vince was in charge of it.
Yeah.
And Vince has no control over it right now, and he had very little control over it for the past year. So,
also,
crazy.
Vince McMahon, a multi-billionaire, and John Laurinaitis, who's a powerful person in his own right. So the only weapon we actually had was the truth facts that we put in this complaint.
I would say if a lot of it's true, he should be criminally prosecuted, because there's like he according to the documents, he basically linked her job to going around and pleasing various other employees and people of the company under Vince McMahon's orders. And then he also made her part of contract negotiations with Brock Lesnar and maybe other people too.
Yeah.
And that's very illegal. That's insanely illegal.
We'll see what happens. I think there's still a federal investigation open on all of this, isn't there?
Yes, I think so. Yeah. So a lot of that data, a lot of the messaging data, and all of that is probably being analyzed right now. So I would say she's opening herself. If she is lying about this, she's opening herself up to a lot of issues legally. So I would think she has some kind of proof, Vince McMahon is not afraid to go to court with people. He's been doing it for the last 50 years.
She seems to have enough to make this suit reasonable for the New York Times. Or it was New York Times, right? They picked it up and
Wall Street Journal.
Huge. Wall Street Journal? Okay, yeah. It's like if it's enough for them to think this is worth chewing on, it's got to be enough to at least not be thrown out.
And the details to try to even the playing field where she felt so powerless before.
Can I ask if Janelle knows of others who were in her position and whether others might end up being a...
Wow, that's God, that picture is like 24 years old right there.
Part of
That's
this...
the old XFL.
Yeah, the first run of the XFL. So that was like 2000, 2001,
as
something
witnesses,
like that.
People in her position
might be from 2001 too.
Experienced the same things. And
yeah, I don't think so. I'm guessing this is probably fairly recent. She might just look good for her age.
She's only got 2 photos they could find.
Yeah.
I don't know how recent it would be. Maybe she took these 10 years ago,
Have the
Maybe.
same allegations?
There's only a couple out there.
No more than the regular public about the NDAs that everyone has heard who has followed this story. So
I'm wondering if she had any social media, she might have made it all private.
She definitely would have scrubbed it.
Yeah, I would too.
Going public.
Yeah.
Probably if she had any, the second that her name got leaked by the tabloids, that probably would have been enough for her to scrub and shut everything down.
They knew they knew she was at least one of the people involved in this because her situation was described a year ago when they first got rid of him. When they first got rid of McMahon, and Stephanie stepped in his place, and then as soon as Vince came back, Stephanie left. So I think Stephanie knows something too.
Yeah. It's weird we can only find 2 pictures of her because supposedly Vince was passing around pictures of her the entire time.
Hey, do you remember years ago when I joked around about how there was a third dude in the room when Paige was getting gangbanged? Because there's someone holding a camera watching Maddox and what's his name bang Paige.
Brad Maddox and Xavier Woods.
Yeah, and I joked around that it was Vince holding the camera.
You think it was?
I mean, it sounds it sounds like Vince is into several man on one woman kind of arrangements, and sometimes he likes to just watch his buddies get some action, according to this. So I joked around about it, like, what if it's Vince? Because he always had this reputation as being kind of a perv, but now it's out because it looks like he's into banging one woman with a bunch of other dudes. It sounds like that's something he's really into because he's rich enough. I don't understand why, if this is true, why he had her work for him and stuff. She already lived in his apartment building. He could have just had an affair with her there, but he gave her a job that she wasn't qualified for and gave her
probably just because he could, have her on the payroll.
He could have just, he's I don't know how many billions of dollars he has. He could have just bought hookers for the rest of his life and not had to deal with this kind of trouble.
But why not?
Because he's a psycho if it's true.
Well, yeah, he's a psycho. When you're that crazy, when you've spent your entire career doing whatever you wanted to, putting yourself above God on multiple occasions, you don't care about this shit.
You're he had a match with God, didn't he?
Yeah, he put himself over. He beat God and Shawn Michaels in one night.
He has no more knowledge than that. But our hope is, and her hope is, by coming out, by stepping forward, by bringing this complaint and putting her face to this complaint, that other victims of Vince McMahon and the WWE will end up becoming public. And she wants to help them find their voice and get justice. And she thinks and hopes by doing this, she will.
So there are some people who are described and listed in the complaint, specifically allegations that Vince McMahon showed his phone to about 12 technical crew members in a studio. And
technical crew members!
That they all had a great laugh.
I feel like somebody has to talk eventually if it was so many people.
At her expense.
I'm sure there will be, but I think a lot of the people probably want to continue to keep their jobs under the new administration, and they know that the administration does not want any of this talked about. Mum's the word supposedly backstage. The Kevin Dunn, longtime production guy, he quit 2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
right before all this came out.
He probably saw it coming.
He probably is one of the people listed. He was very close with Vince.
I don't think he was listed. He wasn't named in the lawsuit.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of people that were on. Brock Lesnar wasn't named either, right? Like,
it was so specific there
in the sexual bacchanalia.
So there's probably some lack of specificity that could have him involved. But also,
I went through it. Well, hold on, I can clear that up. So I went through it, and there's like a physical therapist that wasn't named, but some physical therapists that work under Vince. And there was Brock Lesnar, because it was like heavyweight champion, UFC heavyweight champion, and then it was Laurinaitis, and then it was Brock Lesnar, but Brock Lesnar never actually hooked up with her. They had like tried to make plans, but it never happened
because of snow.
Yeah. I don't think they never mentioned like his because Kevin Dunn was like their producer. I don't know though. I'm not going to assume everyone was involved.
Go on in his description.
Right. It was Kevin Dunn.
Will those men be subpoenaed? Do you know who those men are, and are they witnesses? Are you able to sort of bring them forth to ask what they know about that alleged incident?
Well, our complaint has just been filed, so we're hoping through the discovery process that we will be able to build a case with all the witnesses, everything that would be relevant to put in the strongest case that would go to the jury trial where the trier of fact.
And just quickly, you mentioned it yourself. Janelle Grant is going up against the WWE and Vince McMahon. There could be nothing more powerful just in terms of money and influence and power, certainly in the entertainment world and elsewhere. Is she prepared for the scrutiny that she undoubtedly will come under in the weeks and months ahead?
I think she is. She's been devastated, dehumanized, discarded, and she is really a destroyed person physically and mentally. But she also is incredibly resilient and incredibly brave. And she sustained an ongoing onslaught of sexual deviation from Vince McMahon.
An onslaught of sexual deviation.
Man.
We always hear the most sensational sides from people making claims and lawsuits.
Of course.
But there are pieces of this that, if they're true, this is like, it's rough, dude.
It seems really like it'd be very involved, too, like all of the activity and all of the planning and everything. It just seems like it'd be like having a second job by the way it was described.
Vince is a workaholic.
Yeah.
By the WWE, so she survived that.
So
I think she can survive some scrutiny.
That's terrible.
Thank you for watching.
All right, here is Triple H, Vince McMahon's son-in-law and head of creative at WWE, being asked about the Vince McMahon lawsuit.
Hey, Paul, right here. John Alba Fightful. Speaking of the business side of things, it was about a year ago the WWE Board of Directors unanimously opposed.
He's like, oh shit, here it comes.
Vince's return to the company as executive chair due to the ongoing investigations at the time before ultimately voting him back into power. You, Stephanie.
Is he starting to sweat?
Nick Khan, you were part of
He looks like he's under the lights,
Yeah.
But he sweats a lot, so it could just be regular.
that. What degree of knowledge of the current accusations against him did you guys have at the time, and how does the situation affect WWE?
It's such an incriminating question, too. What knowledge did you have of the accusations at the time?
Relationship with partners going forward.
Yeah, so I'm going to do exactly what you would expect me to do here. Look, we just had an amazing week. I just said a 10-year, $5 billion Netflix deal. Rock joining our board. We just...
Yeah, it's crazy how this stuff happens so quick. You know, they cut the deal with Netflix. They had The Rock join the board of directors there, and then this shit happens. It's crazy.
I wonder if they did know anything about it. Like Kevin Dunn could have just been offered to leave, knowing they didn't want to re-sign with him because of the new stuff coming through. They wanted to go with a new guy and said, "Look, you can step down and offer to leave publicly, or we're going to let you go." And it could have been something like that as well. Like everybody who associates him with guilt, it's all of this is interestingly timed, right? Like
Well, they were looking to make big changes there anyway. There was a whole new company, new ownership. Vince McMahon almost kind of had like an honorary role at this point. It was supposed to be a lifetime role too.
With 48,000 people in a Tropicana field, I choose to focus on the positive. And yes, there's a negative, but...
Yes, there's a negative. yes, there is a negative, if you will.
This is also his father-in-law too, right? Like it's hard for him to navigate, even if your family is guilty of something crazy. Like you want to give them more benefit of the doubt than you would give other people.
There have been rumors that him and Stephanie are having marital issues, but of course, like that they could be bullshit. You know,
I'm sure they are. Like, I don't think that they would care much about each other doing other things. They seem to be in this whole wrestling industry has this weird openness to it.
Yes.
People are like, do you think Sable's going to leave Rock now? And it's like, no, I'm pretty sure Sable's known Rock was blowing out.
You mean Brock, right?
Brock, yeah, Brock. I think Sable knows Brock has been blowing out all types of women and maybe even some fucking animals he's hunting. We don't know. Brock is out of his fucking mind. Brock should scare everybody.
I want to focus on that and just keep it to that.
All the way in.
Okay, so that's that whole video where he's like, actually, I think I'm just going to focus on positive things right now, is basically what he said.
He's like, why talk about my father-in-law shitting on some girl's head when I can tell you Cody Rhodes just won the Royal Rumble for the second year in a row. The first time since Stone Cold Steve Austin. Only before that, Hulk Hogan and Shawn Michaels. Quite an accomplishment.
Yeah, basically. Here's Cody Rhodes being asked about it.
There was a real dark cloud over this weekend following the allegation.
At least a brown cloud.
You've talked about how Vince met with you personally to bring you into the company. I just wanted to get your reaction to the report, and as someone who served as an executive within the industry, what changes do you think should be made across the board to prevent situations like this?
He's like, oh God, I don't like. It does suck when you have nothing to do with it except for you work for the company. You know, it's It's a great question.
I know as far as the news is concerned, we were finding it out and reading the same thing that you guys were reading. And you said a dark cloud, certainly. As far as TKO, Nick Khan and the board clearly took it very seriously, acted immediately, and looking at the future, I don't know the answer to that, and I think somewhere is probably a basic tenet of just this crew, more than ever from a roster standpoint.
And by the way, I didn't know this, but I guess Ari Emanuel's daughter worked for WWE before he had anything to do with it, and she was Bruce Pritchard's assistant, like executive assistant. So
very family. Never seen anything.
I'm guessing I think he might. I think Bruce Pritchard has a good relationship with the new regime there, but who knows? You know, maybe he was having his strings pulled by Vince. Maybe they can't be sure without him.
Yeah, that's
gone.
what there was some rumors that Bruce Pritchard was under Vince McMahon's control, even when Vince was out of the company.
Yeah.
Most of the time, wrestling locker rooms, fighting, talking trash about each other, making fun of each other, sandbagging each other in the ring, all that nonsense. This crew is very team-based, and perhaps that's the ingredient.
Yeah, Vince was very team-based too. He liked to put together a team, a gangbang team, right?
I don't know if that was a team. That was a small club.
Everyone looking out for everyone, being accountable, and I know, for me as a performer and a competitor, I've been through dark periods in our industry before, and it might sound cheesy, but it's very reinforcing if you're in my position. That it's a time when, hey, we got 50,000 people out here. I want to give them something else from this weekend that isn't a terrible situation, terrible news. And I think we were able to do that. Obviously, as more news comes out, we'll be seeing it just like you do.
Good answer. All right, now we're going to get to Dutch Mantel, who, for those of you who don't know, he's been wrestling forever, since like the 70s, and he worked at WWE, and he's worked all over, and he's kind of a conservative kook at times. Like I'll read, because I follow him on Twitter and I'll see the things he posts. I'm like, oh God. But
he looks and acts like a son of a bitch.
His last gimmick was called Zeb Coulter, and he was like a right-wing, like Tea Party kind of character.
They were jumping on that Tea Party.
Yeah.
He fit the bill.
Yeah, because he's like a Southern guy with weird facial hair. Here he is.
He looks like the type of guy that's funding a well-oiled militia in his backyard.
I kind of like his podcast because he has his polar opposite, a British dude, as his co-host. So
I think he's a brilliant guy. There's a reason why he gets work in wrestling to this day.
That's why I follow
him. Not
him.
his physique.
No. Here he is. Here's all of his socials. Look at him. Yosemite Sam himself.
On March 26th, 2020, McMahon sent a lengthy message to Ms. Grant describing in detail the circumstances surrounding sharing explicit photographs of Ms. Grant to a former WWE referee, referred to here as WWE referee. I hate to say, I'm absolutely sure I know who it is. I'm not going to mention the name. McMahon described how WWE referee left to masturbate over these photos.
So Vince allegedly shows this referee, whoever he was, the kinky photos that he took of this woman, and then he texted her and was like, yeah, I showed him, and he got so turned on he had to leave and masturbate.
Do you think the referee could have been anybody to ever be a referee, like a special guest referee? Like, could it be Ken Shamrock?
I don't think so.
Told Miss Grant she had
Wonder
made
if
a
it's Ken
perfect stranger
Shamrock.
very happy. Now,
don't want to say Mike Chioda.
We are going to get to what you know we're going to get to. McMahon also allegedly maintained total control over Grant's personal and professional life, non-sexual text message, etc. And then he cajoles her, he being Vince, cajoles Miss Grant into a threesome with physical therapist.
It was with both the Hebner brothers.
Therapist, by saying, I've already sorted this, I've already
twin
booked it. I'll lose a friend
referees.
over this if you don't do it. And then when she still says no, Vince says, I love you. And then that's the first time he's ever said it to her, and then she agrees to do it.
Wow.
Now I feel bad for Vince.
So
He was
did
in
she
love
have
with this woman?
Did she have the feels? Is that so? That's what it took. I don't know.
It's hard to say no.
Was she cool
someone who
with the
loves you.
Vince romance? And then he started making her bang other people, and that's when it went sour.
I'm 100% sure it started out when she was probably very much into everything that he had to offer. and then it probably got really fucking horrible and over her head at some point.
Because I had heard that Linda McMahon didn't even live, like she lived like down in Florida or something. So they didn't even live like anywhere near each other. This woman lived in the same apartment building as him. Why was he bringing her into the office when like that was just like an unnecessary place with tons of witnesses?
Well,
I don't understand that.
People to join in.
That is so weird.
One thing the wrestlers all say about Vince is he's like one of the guys. Like he's not like your boss. He 100% wants to do everything the guys do, drink, stay up, party, be crazy. He wants to fight. He wants to do all that stuff. He wants to be one of the boys.
Well, yeah.
So maybe this was one of his ways of keeping part of being one of the boys was like, hey, look what I got here, pal.
That started with Dr. Jerry Graham back in the day. Dr. Jerry Graham was like his idol, and he used to like get drunk underage with them, with like all the wrestlers back in the day.
I think growing up with like a wrestling father, and you have this weird, he had a weird childhood too, right? He was sexualized by his mom.
Yeah, he was molested basically. Yeah.
A lot of weird past into his story, and for him to go the way he did, you created this just extreme narcissist that also was seeking validation. It's a weird mixture.
I feel like him and Trump have a lot in common, and I think that's why they've been friends for so long. And
everybody jumps on Trump for that comment he made about if she wasn't my daughter, I would date her. Vince McMahon pushed a storyline where he was the father of Stephanie McMahon's child
when she was pregnant in real life. Yeah,
there's when she was actually pregnant. There's an interview of her talking about this, like it's like a tongue-in-cheek interview. She's like, "Yeah, there was the one time he pushed to be the father of my pregnant
child." Was that
child
Howard Stern?
Storyline.
Was that?
I had to turn that down. It didn't seem like a Howard Stern interview when she was talking about it.
Okay.
But I saw it on Twitter this week. Whenever all this stuff came up about Vince being like ultra creepy, this is like, look what Vince did to Stephanie.
Well, there was a storyline where he trafficked Stephanie or something too.
Yeah, there was a clip of her crying like, "You were my dad. You were my father. I would have done anything for you. I did anything for you. I only said no for you twice. I didn't say no when you pushed me on those guys that you said would be good for business. I did it for you, Dad."
Yeah.
It's like, whoa, this sucks. This is terrible.
Someone in the chat said Vince will live to be 100. I doubt it with all the steroids and shit. He's already lived past the life expectancy for someone who's been doing steroids for 50 years.
I don't know. Maybe he did the right mixture. Maybe he's like formaldehyde on.
I mean, Hogan's still around, and Arnold is still around. There are some steroid guys that are still around.
Then there's this headline-grabbing story. Here is the quote. Early in this threesome encounter, McMahon immediately directed Ms. Grant to lay down on her back in a supplicant position. While straddling over her, McMahon defecated on Miss Grant's head. McMahon left to shower off, but he instructed Ms. Grant to remain in place with excrement in her hair and to continue performing for his friend. While Ms. Grant requested protection, none was offered. McMahon and physical therapist actively continued with the threesome and directed Ms. Grant's sexual performance for around an hour and a half, while she was left covered in feces. Following the threesome on May 11th, 2020, McMahon
So Vince took a crap on her and then went to shower and left her to have sex with this guy?
I think that's what he just said. The other, I mean, that's so weird to like poop is gross. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
like
under the right circumstance, it's also poop. Yeah, I can't believe he dumped on her and then left to shower. I was like, nope, you stay in here with this guy covered in chat. Trump and Vince some weirdos, but at least Billy is still a sweet boy, sexy boy. Thank you, Keith Dickens. Fact
of seeing her engaged in sexual relations. What the fuck?
What the fuck is right?
What the fuck is right?
What if you was, wait a minute, put yourself in the place of that third person. Vince takes a dump on her head and tells you to keep going. I said, wait a minute.
I want to see Dutch Mantel and Trumpster Bob have a conversation.
He's bringing up a point here, though.
Yeah.
Vince McMahon is one of those guys who's like, if he says jump, you say how high. If he says fuck my girlfriend covered in shit, you say how long.
I'm not a fan of that. I don't know if I can continue this. So while he went to take a shower, why was he taking a shower? She should have been taking the shower. But what I'm saying is, I'm reading this,
She
and when
should
I
have
read
been taking
that,
the shower.
I went, what the hell? Now, who could do an hour and a half? Because he didn't say how long the activity went on after the alleged dump. But, and that's why I'm saying,
Trump
if this
some Doritos, but at least Billy is still a sweet, sexy boy.
is made up, I don't think a damn fiction writer could make that up. So, but it's in there. So apparently, I don't know. I wasn't there. So it had to happen.
Whenever someone says, I don't think a fiction writer can make it up, this is something a 12-year-old could
Yes.
write.
Anyone.
It's like,
yeah.
And then Vince McMahon poopied on her head, went to take a shower, and other guy kept having sex with her covered in poopy for 1 hour and a half.
Yeah,
It doesn't seem realistic, but anybody can write this.
You ever read like the erotic letters in like Penthouse? You know,
Not really.
It's written like that. This is written like that, only there's poop involved, you know? Like all the stories sounded fake. Maybe they were real, who knows, but they all kind of sounded fake.
How would she even think of that? I don't know. But that's what made me think there's a lot more to this than what you're just reading the headline.
Oh, yeah. Someone just brought this up in the chat, and I've heard other people say it. How do we know that maybe the poop, like, you know, when people get older, sometimes they can't hold their poop in. How do we know he didn't just accident, like it slipped out?
Honestly, that's realistic.
Yeah.
But at that point, why would he make her continue having sex with the other guy?
Because he didn't want
afterwards.
I don't know. Well, he went to
'Cause, like,
shower.
Yeah, if he was like, "Oh, sorry, I accidentally took a shit on your head. I'm gonna go, but you guys continue
Don't
without
go
me."
anywhere, bitch. I own
It's
you.
like, don't worry about quitting, guys. I just have to go wash up now that I've accidentally shit on you.
Continue.
Yeah, I cannot.
That's horrible. That
Steve
is
Harker
horrible.
suggesting that he wanted to pretend it didn't happen. Could you imagine if Vince embarrassingly dumped on her head during sex and was like, "Oh well, I'm gonna go take a shower now, guys. Don't mind me."
Ring the damn bell.
Do you like hold the shit in and then think, "Here's the time. I've planned it"? Do you think it was on the spur of the moment?
No.
I was like, hang on,
Okay,
I've got one brewing.
Vince does seem like the type of guy
knows
that would have a time period where he could poop at a certain time every day.
He'd have a
There are some
schedule.
people- there are some people that are very scheduled with their bowel movements.
Oh, dude.
Oopsie poopsie.
I think he probably had an itinerary for the entire like threesome. You know?
Oh God.
He's like, "Oh, we're 45 minutes in. Now I gotta poop on your head." Yeah. Right?
9:45. We're hitting the brown note. I'm gonna do the shower spot while you guys continue to go Broadway.
Knows he has a poop fetish. Hence, Kiss My Ass on TV. Remember that? And you tell him a shit joke. Oh, he loves it.
By the way, back in the day, Vince McMahon had a storyline in wrestling called the Vince McMahon Kiss My Ass Club, where he would come out portraying himself as the evil owner of the company, and if you crossed him, he would pull his pants down and force you to kiss his ass. He'd have like his goons like press someone's face into his ass, and he'd look like like that while it was happening. And back in the day, while that was going on, they did an animated series of these animated shorts where Vince McMahon makes people kiss his ass, and his ass is like its own sentient being with its own arms and everything. And we watched an episode of it during the pre-show. It was ridiculous. So if you want to hear us reacting to that, you should check out the DP pre-show that'll be uploaded probably by tomorrow morning after tonight's episode and everything. Anyway.
He likes that more, and he'll always laugh at that. That's always like been one of the undercurrents in the dressing rooms that he likes shit jokes. So
I wonder if that's why all these guys were like known to be taking dumps in girls' wrestling gear bags. And
well, now there's rumors about who did that now too.
There was like a big rumor that Randy Orton dumped in Trish Stratus's bag.
Well, now all the rumors are that it was Vince. That's what.
Oh, wow.
That's what everyone's joking about now. Yeah. He's the one constant. When all this shit humor happened throughout wrestling history, he was there the whole time, right?
Well, yeah. Now, he was there for everything.
I do want to point out, just because you think shit humor is funny doesn't mean you like to poop on people.
Yeah, and I like to do both, and it doesn't mean I would do it and then leave for an hour and a half while my girlfriend was getting humped by another guy.
I mean, Vince felt the need to include other guys constantly. So,
again, where there's smoke, there's fire, and I'm not doubting.
I think Vince is like that type of like he's not gay, but he's like bi, where he likes to watch. Probably
when we had Jim Cornette on, we asked if he thought Vince and Shawn Michaels had messed around because there was always kind of some weird gay energy between them. And Jim Cornette was like, if there was evidence of that, I'd be the first to admit that I saw it. So,
yeah. Truth into this, it actually surprised me in the detail of it, and some of the stuff you said were horrific. They are horrific. I mean, I even watching a porn movie, which I've never watched, by the way. I just want everybody to know. But that
Clean
thing
Dutch.
of getting on top of her and doing the dump, that's too much. That is just what is sexualized about that, I do not know.
Some people are into that. So, yeah. And it's not illegal to do if the other person is okay with you doing it.
It's not always the poop either. It could be the degradation. It could be a lot of things psychologically that drive it.
But obviously, Vince felt a need to do it, so he did it.
I think poop is gross. I don't even like my own poop. You know, like
yeah.
It's called.
I've never actually, admittedly, dumped on anybody during sex, but I could see why I would. And it wouldn't be because I'm into poop. It would be because I'm into power. And how powerful do you have to be to do that to somebody, and they keep on loving you afterwards? Or
well, that's
being there
kind of what
afterwards.
this was about, because Vince was doing the like, I own you, I control who fucks you, but I love you, like that.
Yeah,
shit.
I could see it coming from that end. If you weren't just strictly into this stinky, icky, poopy, you know, but I could see it being a power thing.
Paraphilia. It's a general term for extreme.
1 milestone says, "Who can handle all this information about doo-doo without having to vomit? I need to puke." Man, I am not even thinking that way. Anybody out there feels that way, we'll chill a little bit.
I don't know what it is. It's like you must get to a certain point where normal stuff is boring, so you keep on doing weird stuff.
Well, that's because he's probably boy, he may be a porn addict too. You watch it so much, it doesn't have an effect on you.
How do you know? Oh, you don't mean me personally.
I don't know. I've read that. I've read that. But I'm sure if you do it that much, after the effect, it's like drinking, and then you got to drink a little more and drink a little more, and your body gets accustomed to it, so it doesn't affect you anymore.
He kind of sounded like T-Bob at the end there. Hold on, there's here is Dutch Mantel talking about the John Laurinaitis allegations.
Oh damn. I like Dutch Mantel. Wasn't his old character from back in the 90s? Was it like Uncle Zeke or something? Or Zeke?
I don't remember
Skinner
that.
Or something?
No, he wasn't Skinner. Either. He wasn't Skinner.
I'm going to give you another quote, and this now brings in your old friend. He isn't your old friend, John Laurinaitis. So, on or around December 29th, 2020, a threesome was arranged between McMahon, Laurinaitis, and Ms. Grant at McMahon's condo. Shortly after meeting Laurinaitis, Ms. Grant asked him if she was the first woman who McMahon had introduced him to in such a setting. Laurinaitis failed.
It's so weird that Vince was having threesomes with Laurinaitis.
To respond and shot a look directly at McMahon.
It's not that weird though, because they were like Laurinaitis was a very
Well,
like he was the agent for a long time.
There were always jokes that I've heard from even like Bruce Pritchard about like John Laurinaitis being gay for Vince. And he's got that funny voice because he got kicked in the throat at some point wrestling. So he's got this like voice like this. You know?
Yeah.
He sounds like the weird teacher from Beavis and Butthead almost.
A little bit.
Yeah.
The Funkhauser character from Curb Your Enthusiasm was a big one that he got referenced to.
Who quickly intervened by kissing Ms. Grant and initiating the sexual encounter amongst the three of them. So it is...
Roger Wilco says, yeah, for rich guys like this, it's a power thing, or they've done everything else and they're bored with life, or it can be a blackmail thing too. Poor guys can be into power. Don't give rich people all the power, dude.
That this isn't obviously the first time they've caught a girl in their web in that sense. I'm going to carry on with more Johnny Ace stuff. Vince then
Bill
starts
Hicks says,
farming
any
Grant
idea
out
how
to
the girl felt
Johnny
about
Ace,
her head
negotiating
being
regular times
pooped
Grant
on?
had to service Laurinaitis.
She hasn't said anything
their...
about how she feels in the court documents, right, Ben?
Yeah.
Excuse me.
No.
It's just her lawyer
Mostly
has spoke about her being
We're trying to get
overall-
through it. We're trying to get through it. We'll get through things. That way, like the people in the chat, their questions will get answered by the
Revolving
video.
around
and
Grant going to Johnny's
we'll get
hotel
go
room
through that.
and euphemistically serving him breakfast. Her being the breakfast. Grant is then transferred to talent relations, working directly under Johnny. Grant does not want any of this, especially McMahon forcing Grant to apprise him of all encounters with Johnny. So McMahon is getting his jollies by proxy, essentially by being described afterwards. Here's a quote again. On numerous occasions, Miss Grant was directed to visit Laurinaitis at his hotel room before work to serve himself as breakfast. These devastating experiences made Grant feel as though she was being pimped out as an object for sexual gratification for a new boss. Upon information and belief, corporate funds from the WWE...
Yeah, he put her like directly under Laurinaitis. Vince had her in accounting when before Laurinaitis got involved, and then he moved her to talent relations.
Yeah.
We used to finance Laurinaitis' hotel stays when these coerced sexual encounters occurred. And this starts playing into sex trafficking because she is being made to go places, essentially, to service other people that she says she doesn't want to. Now,
let me ask you this. Did she ever go over state lines to do this? Did she travel to the shows?
That's a good question.
Because that's a violation of the Mann Act.
I would say it's fairly... it's very possible because they have their own planes. Like Vince has his own plane. So he could fly you anywhere.
Is it a violation of the Mann Act if she's willingly going these places as a 40-year-old woman?
I don't know. They have to determine. Yeah, they would have to try and determine whether they believe she did it willingly or not. I will say if it was attached to her job, there's some coercion claims that can be made there.
And she was supposed to go see Brock Lesnar after sending him pee videos, right?
Yeah.
Like, was she going to meet him?
And if that's part of a business arrangement and her job, that's like illegal, on many levels.
She is invited to a WrestleMania early on. I think this is before a sexual relationship comes to the fore with her and McMahon. I think she does go to maybe a pay-per-view or two. I don't have everything in front of me to confirm that, but there's one bit where Vince says she can either have sex with him in the car or his office, and she doesn't have a choice. So, hey, that could have gone from Connecticut to New York State, for all I know.
Mm-hmm.
Johnny Ace.
Good reasoning.
Yeah, thank you.
Start in New York, finish in Connecticut. Yeah, or stop in Connecticut.
John Laurinaitis. Now you spoke about John.
It brings up another question. Isn't he married to the Bella twins' mother?
Oh, yeah. He was married through the entire...
There's so many overlaps here.
The entire time during all this.
Oh, yeah.
Can you imagine what's going on in that household now?
I can't believe they've not divorced yet.
But the Bella twins had to hear this too, didn't they?
Yeah, they made a statement, like a very, kind of expected, kind of neutral statement.
I wonder how deep into this they were. I
don't know how much they would have known about it.
Well, I mean, they had a lot of big positioning in the company. Like, I wonder if they were doing anything or pressure to do anything for their position.
Oh, if they had anything. Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, there were rumors that they would do things with people, but those were it could be anybody talking. It's rumors, right?
Right.
But you have Stephanie in storyline saying she did things for people, and then you have rumors of these girls doing things for people, and then you have Vince having a girl say she did things for people in a lawsuit.
Remember that segment where Vince humiliated Trish? He like brought her in and like made her get almost naked in the middle of the ring in front of like a whole live crowd of like thousands. He's like, yeah, take it off, yeah. Yeah.
That'll have been really
It's like a humiliation fetish kind of thing.
You heard the rumors.
What if Trish was into that and pushed the angle herself, but it makes Vince look horrible? Like that'd be so funny. Like
she's
Vince
never complained about it, I don't think.
For all of the, yeah, exactly, right? Vince is probably responsible for everything horrible that's happened under his company because he's been the be all end all of it, you know? Yeah, I would be surprised if anything went down on that company that he wasn't okay with. I'd be surprised. But it would be funny if there were these people that were they fit well with Vince because of their kinks and their twists, and they played right into it. It just happened to create that atmosphere.
I'm sure there were rumors floating around Johnny that he was a
well, not about this, but I heard about his dalliances with females.
Yeah. And the Bellas in the women's locker room. They'll have probably heard it before you did.
They did. That's what.
Yes, this is the reason why. This is the reason. I mean, this and he's paid like over $12 million in hush money.
I believe it's 14 million.
Is it 14? Okay.
I believe it's 14 million.
Yeah. So, and this woman only alleges she was owed 3 million and she only got 1/3 of it. So there has to be others if that's the case. There was an independent investigation last year that determined how much money Vince McMahon had paid. And then he was kind of fired, and then he found a way to get in. Well, I mean, he still owned most of the company at that point. So he got his way back in, and he sold the company to UFC, and now it's a new company, and he had a position there for a little while, and now he resigned like 3 days ago.
Where I heard it. So they had to hear it first, and then it filtered down to me. Now, whether anything changed or not, but it still concerned Vince and women. That wasn't his wife. So
did John Laurinaitis, because you were in WCW with him like in 1990. I spoke to Shane, and Shane said he was always, to use his parlance, said he would have screwed anything that moved. He always had that reputation.
He was Shane's partner.
Yeah,
they rode the skateboards or whatever they did. But I've never been close to John because, again, when you get around certain people and they give you certain vibes, you kind of want to. I've always had.
Yeah, John Laurinaitis was in one of the worst tag teams ever. Like the gimmick was really bad. Shane Douglas was the other guy in it. They were the dynamic dudes, and they would like skateboard to the ring. Do you remember
his brother was in one of the best tag teams ever.
That's crazy. That's crazy how that works.
Had that ability, I think, even when I got around Vince.
Did they actually skateboard to the ring? I thought they carried skateboards to the ring. I thought they couldn't even skateboard.
I think you're right. They probably did just carry skateboards.
I said this before at the start.
I think they had them and never used them, unless they used them as weapons, which would make sense. That'd be.
I'm sure that happened.
I don't think they were heels. Though.
They weren't.
I don't know. Maybe they were.
Their manager was Jim Cornette. So they were probably, The
podcast that he put off a vibe that I didn't know how to interpret, and he made me feel uncomfortable. Johnny Ace is the same way. He put off an unusual vibe. I didn't know him to have a lot of real friends. Not that you have real friends in wrestling anyway.
So what I just read was that the Dynamic Dudes had Jim Cornette first, and then Jim Cornette turned on them and turned them face, and then they feuded with the Midnight Express when Cornette went over there.
But he seemed like to me a hard guy to get to know. If you wanted to know him, Vince is the same way. So when I get those feelings about people, I kind of keep my distance from them. Of course, it's not hard to keep your distance from Vince because he's protected by a line of people standing outside his door. And when he's walking, he's always walking with several people around him at all times, even at the matches. So this doesn't surprise me about John Laurinaitis at all.
Leaving, I don't know how specific you can get, but leaving out names, anything specific that you heard about John during his time as VP, Talent Relations VP?
Well, yeah, I used to talk to the girls, and some of them would be not in a manic state, but kind of panicky. I'm not going to mention any names.
Damn.
And they would say he just gives them the heebie-jeebies or whatever that means. Really.
If they're confiding in Dutch Mantel, saying somebody gives them heebie-jeebies, that says a lot.
And you can tell when a female is kind of scared, especially in the fear that he's going to ask them something or try something or try to kiss them or feel them. And that's why they try to keep their distance from him. So I've talked to a couple of them. Not long after they talked to him, he'd call them in a little room like Vince would, and they would come out. Not that I was standing there, a guard at the gate, but they would say they would stay in there 10 minutes or whatever. But when they come out, they would be like a panicked, kind of, upset, nervous.
Sounds terrible.
And some of them would just go sit down and not talk to anybody. And they would sit there and what they were doing, they were trying to sort it out in their head, what had happened and what's going to happen. Because now this guy who is their boss, basically, or he's over them, what they're going to do without getting, in the wrestling business, I say, without getting heat on them. If a guy makes a move on you, I would assume, I never made a move on a guy, but he makes a move and then he's rejected, he's rebuffed. Now he's pissed off. How's that going to affect the girl's career? Like they may want to do something with her and he's not a supporter of her. And he said, I wouldn't do it with her. And he may keep her from advancing. So,
yeah, I mean, it's a completely someone else's call how far you make it in the wrestling business. So
Schadenfreude says he just described a normal work day. Quit your job, Schadenfreude. Yeah, and like he is saying, he wasn't in the rooms, right? This is just the feeling he got. This could be all suspicion.
It could be based on the accusations. Who knows?
Yeah.
When they came out, they was not only concerned about what he had said or what he had tried to do or what he did.
Oh my God.
But they were concerned about their career, and rightfully so. Which goes back to the problem that I asked at the start of this podcast. Why didn't that Janet, what's her last name? Grant? Yeah, Janet Grant?
Janelle Grant.
Janelle Grant. Why didn't she say no? Because she was scared of losing her job. Said she was down her luck anyway, broke her, and the old saying, broke her than a broke dick dog. I mean, that's
broker than a broke dick dog.
My dog had a broke dick for a while. It sucked.
And she got
it was a puppy.
And this is another thing that I'm thinking about. Who was the friend who introduced her to WWE or to Vince? Anybody know?
I think it was originally one of Vince's personal assistants or
something. No. It was the manager of her apartment building. It was like she lived in this apartment building and knew the manager, and she was like, yeah, there's this really rich guy that lives here that maybe he can help you find a job. That's what I'm hearing.
She was like, I can't pay rent. And he was like, well, I know somebody who will help you if you're willing to do dirty, icky things.
Something like that. So they had a direct line to Vince, but it wasn't through like the wrestling division in that sense.
I see. So,
T-Dizzle says, I think they were into this role-playing shit and Vince was too stupid to know it was going to be exposed. I mean,
maybe
Vince probably thought he had everything under control, locked down. He probably thinks that all the time because he usually does. And I think she probably was into it up to a point. But even if she was into it the entire time, giving her a job and then giving her ultimatums to do these things that are illegal and coerced, or he'll take it away, is the problem.
Yeah, and then he was like rewarding her with money and shit when she did do what he wanted. They said something like $14,000 in Bloomingdale's gift cards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, this goes deeper than what we're even taking it now.
These are basically the worst bits of the John Laurinaitis portion. And on June 14th, this is a quote again, 2021, Ms. Grant again told McMahon that she did not want to engage in sexual encounters with Laurinaitis, adding, "I've left the hotel feeling bad about myself every time."
What year is this?
This is 2021. So this has gone on for a decent amount of time now. McMahon responded with John Laurinaitis' involvement less than 2 years, but this is 2 years into the Vince McMahon Janelle Grant relationship. McMahon responded that the one-on-one encounters could cease, but he expected threesomes with Laurinaitis to continue. Text messages also say that Laurinaitis is a sloppy drunk.
So he was like, no more, Vince was telling her, like, no more one-on-one between you and me, but you got to still bang Laurinaitis, and I'll still show up every now and then when you're banging Laurinaitis. So he was trying to get rid of her at some point. It seems like he's trying to, like, put the brakes on this at this point.
Yeah.
And that he can't keep his mouth closed. Like, this is Vince saying this. As we say over here, Vince is old gobshite. He can't shut his mouth about this relationship to anyone who'll listen.
But he's bitching about Lauren.
And I mean, someone knew about, like, it was not a well-kept secret because WWE last year was tipped off about this, and that's how the whole investigation happened.
Yeah, they had a whole investigation that supposedly came up where Vince was not guilty, and then everything was fine.
What do you mean not guilty? I mean, it came up that he had an affair and offered her hush money and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but they couldn't find any, like, illegal foul play.
That's not what they were looking for, though. They were looking to see if he was using company money to like hide an affair. They didn't even interview her. They didn't even talk to her. So there's no way.
They didn't talk to her.
Right. So how are you going to know someone's guilty or not? You don't even talk to the, like, accuser.
Because they said they had a private investigation.
But that's not what they were.
Back.
They weren't trying to investigate whether or not he committed any crimes. They were looking to see if he was misusing company funds, which is another crime, because all your financial stuff when you're a publicly traded company has to be made public. So if you're, like, paying your sex slave money and flying her all over and that kind of stuff, and you're hiding that, then that's a huge violation.
Dave Valinsky says one great promo against you can also end your career. Just ask badass Billy Gunn. There's so many ways that somebody can get big heat in wrestling and end your career. A lot of people operate in fear of getting heat the entire time that they are working for companies like this, because if somebody has a thing against you that's in a higher up management position, it's going to be very hard for you to advance.
Laurinaitis.
Yeah.
Talking about it.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Now, threesome rape allegation. McMahon and Laurinaitis ignored her pleas and brought her into Laurinaitis' office, forcibly touching and undressing her before forcing her to engage in a threesome on a conference table. Miss Grant pleaded no, and please stop. McMahon responded with no means yes. Miss Grant once again told him to stop. Instead, McMahon licked his fingers and penetrated Miss Grant and said, "Take it, bitch," with each taking turns restraining her.
It is written like it's... The way it's written just seems so preposterous to be true, but it could be. It could be. I'm not saying it's not.
It's also exactly how most people act in situations like this. Women who are into the submissive role like to be called names like this and treated like shit, and men who are in the dominant role, it's simple vernacular. It's the simple stuff.
For the other, Laurinaitis then joined by forcibly
this level of interaction.
Tongue then penis into Ms. Grant's mouth. Here is another Johnny Ace rape accusation. during, I think this might even be the day after, during a June 15, 2021 encounter with McMahon and Laurinaitis in the latter's office. Laurinaitis shoved his tongue in Ms. Grant's mouth after she pleaded to stop the whole encounter, then unzipped his pants and shoved his penis into plaintiff's mouth. And here is a Vince McMahon rape allegation. Now, obviously, prior to what I'm reading, I'm sure a prosecutor can say it's a grey area, or she said yes, or she was eventually convinced and consented. These are all stone-cold rape allegations. McMahon rape allegation on June...
Hold on, stone-cold rape allegations? Come on. Couldn't he have phrased that in a different way?
I didn't hear. Did that glass shatter?
Why does Stone Cold need to get involved in this?
23rd, 2021, around 11:42 a.m. McMahon directed Ms. Grant in the middle of a workday to meet him on a lower floor. When Ms. Grant arrived, McMahon led her inside his private locker room, locked the door, and forced himself on her over a massage table. Later that day, a $15,000 gift card to Bloomingdale's were purchased in McMahon's direction and delivered to McMahon's personal assistant to Ms. Grant in her office. Now this, and also, I'm sorry, I'll finish with this. Johnny Ace's wife on multiple occasions.
15,000 gift certificate.
Yeah, oh yeah. But that's like, how many times have you heard like abusers in like a domestic relationship? You know, the man hits, well, probably the woman hits the man as well quite a lot. You know, it's not all one way, but a man hits a woman and then the next day says, I'll never do it again, buy some flowers and that kind of thing. It sort of reeks of that.
It almost seems more like a payment.
Well, you know, she might have complained about him shitting on her new dress, and he was like, "Go buy a new one. Here's $15,000."
You could buy quite a few with $15,000.
I have a stack of Bloomingdale gift certificates in my dresser for moments like this. I don't care. Take $15K.
But I'll finish with this, and then I'll throw it back to you. Johnny's wife, on multiple other occasions, while Ms. Grant worked under Laurinaitis, including after McMahon's promise that one-on-one encounters would end, and even after his wife moved across the country to join Laurinaitis, he would call Ms. Grant into his office, lock the door, unzip his pants, and instruct Ms. Grant to perform oral sex.
Okay, who moved across the country?
Johnny Ace's wife.
So she moved from where to where?
Probably California to Connecticut, I imagine, something like that.
Okay. And it still went on?
Yeah. Allegedly. As we
say. That's between them, but I don't know. It just reads bad.
It reads bad.
It reads bad, and it reads sleazy. Let me say that.
Now.
Yeah, Dutch is not amused.
No, it is sleazy. It's this is all pretty messed up.
Yeah,
and not at all surprising. Not at all surprising to me. You hear about stuff like this for decades. Whether it's Vince McMahon or other wrestlers, this type of behavior exists in the wrestling industry. It's part of the reason why I quit pro wrestling.
Do you want to hear Dutch's take on the Brock Lesnar part of this?
Yeah.
We're going to go to, quote-unquote, WWE superstar. Described as a former UFC heavyweight champion whom Vince was trying to re-sign at the time in 2021. And I highly
sure
doubt
it's not CM Punk? Oh, he wasn't a champion.
And I'm not saying...
He didn't even win once. He had 2 matches and he lost both of them.
Who it was. But it also should be noted that Brock Lesnar is not going to be appearing at the Royal Rumble all of a sudden tonight as we record this.
And when did they announce that? Yesterday? Friday?
No, they announced that last break. A PW Insider announced this very recently, saying that Brock Lesnar was scheduled to be at the Royal Rumble. Now he is not. So, interesting. Anyway.
You know, aren't they going to have a press conference?
I hear a lot of people from watching these videos, like these guys who have worked in the industry, saying that they think this might even ruin Brock Lesnar's public career. And he didn't even do any, like, he did not do anything, but he never actually met up with her. So I don't know.
But he was bartering with a woman for his contract, right? Like he was like, send me piss pics, and they got him, bitch, I'm going to ruin you type thing. Then they just don't do it because of scheduling issues. Yeah,
apparently. And like weather.
Right after the Royal Rumble.
If they had any.
No, I think they might need to cancel that one.
I think so. So let's call him WWE Superstar. On or about July 12th, 2021, McMahon directed Ms. Grant to create personalised sexual content for WWE Superstar. McMahon shared the photos with WWE Superstar and then informed Ms. Grant that he likes what he sees. Prior to a business dinner with McMahon, WWE Superstar made a brief visit to Grant's building. However, WWE Superstar did not return to the building for a sexual encounter because he was too intoxicated and taken back to the plane.
So I guess he showed up, but he was too wasted and ended up just leaving, which is interesting.
Yeah. Now, this is astonishing. This all goes to WWE Superstar. Later that evening, Mr. McMahon recounted the story about his dinner with WWE Superstar to Ms. Grant. He sought to salvage the night with a request that they role-play a sexual encounter in which McMahon acted as if he were WWE Superstar. McMahon was so physically rough with Ms. Grant that during the encounter...
So because she didn't get to hook up with actual Brock Lesnar, Vince was like, pretend I'm Brock Lesnar.
He put on Brock face, then beat the shit out of her?
Miss Grant begged McMahon to stop numerous times. Another rape accusation there. Including the loud cries of help, I'm serious and I'm scared. As he, among other things, penetrated her, fisted her, pulled her hair, pinned her, shoved her, and open palm slapped her. McMahon's assault caused
What if
Ms. Grant
Brock would have done that to her? What if that was what was going to happen to her? Right? Oh my God.
Down weeping and curling to the feet.
Brock has pretty gigantic fists. You know, like...
Position with her arms pulled up to protect her face. McMahon alternated between slaps and shoves before admitting that, I'm really fucking up with you right and left tonight. I'm going to add one more thing about WWE Superstar and then throw it to you. McMahon texted Ms. Grant a reminder that she was an enslaved object to him. Quote, I want to drive you lower and lower, so low that you might beg me to sell you.
Yeah, that is like BDSM talk right there.
Yeah.
That you might beg me to sell you.
So low. Like, if you ever watch Vince McMahon talk and cut a promo, he says evil shit for fake, right? Like, he would probably say the most evil shit during a BDSM thing, and if you were into that, you would love that. Somebody in the chat said, was there a safe word? You know, did she say the safe word? Maybe there was a safe word through all this, and everything we hear Vince doing, he's doing under the assumption, and maybe her assumption as well, that she could say the safe word at any time and it would end. But when it comes to court cases, she's not going to bring that up because she wants to get money out of him because she feels she was wronged. Maybe the entire time Vince was doing this, it was under a safe word. But even under that case, even under that extreme of consent and kink, he should not have put her in a position where she's paid to do what she does, to do these trafficking things, these sex trafficking things.
And then one more thing about WWE Superstar is, I'll just make this quick, is that the set a play date, then COVID hit again, and then Grant used that as an excuse to back out of it. But she was cajoled, allegedly, into sending a video to WWE Superstar of her urinating. And there is a text message from WWE
So there's
Superstar
poop and
to
pee
Vince
in this
McMahon
story.
to Ms. Grant.
Yeah.
Detailing that Vince had thrown Ms. Grant into the bargain to re-signing WWE Superstar.
Well, this is from her side, her perspective, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Well, again, I don't know if it happened or not, but I don't even think you could make this stuff up. I mean, I don't think she's that creative. She should be she should have been on the creative team.
She was.
Was she on the creative team?
Oh, no. She was talent relations, right? Laurinaitis was talent relations. That would have been funny if she was on the creative team.
More than anything else. Because the thing with the dump and the thing with, the last thing you read it reads like a fiction book. I mean, I don't think she's that talented. I don't think the lawyer she had could make it up.
Oh, lawyers make shit up all the time, okay? They're like the masters of making shit up. So I don't know about that. If you think lawyers are always telling the truth.
Back to that same say again, where there's smoke, there's fire. And if Vince didn't want anybody to know it, he wouldn't have took pictures. He had to know and he wrote her, these text messages can be corroborated, correct?
Yeah, I hope so. Here's the one thing about text messages is that I'm sure they were all screen grabbed from her phone, but to absolutely be sure, we need to make sure they came from Vince's phone.
But don't they have a record of this?
I'm sure they're looking into it right now.
Yeah, there's definitely a record. They can be subpoenaed. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Yeah, like I've worked for a phone company before. You can go back and look at text records, and they can be subpoenaed by courts to look at as evidence for things. Absolutely.
The phone, I think they've already looked into it.
I think they need Vince's phone to corroborate, make sure the text messages left it. But yeah, I wonder if they can compel.
Okay, even on her phone, wouldn't it? His number appear on there?
Now the prosecution
phone
could
records
argue
as
that
well,
the
right?
number was spoofed.
Yeah. You can't get like a record of what was said in the call, but you can get like the numbers involved and the duration.
Yeah, this guy's saying that the number could be spoofed. Like you can get the phone records.
No. Actually, no, that's actually true. If it's spoofed, it'll show as the spoofed number in the records. Or at least in the records I had access to. Like, or if someone like blocked their number when they called, you know, I don't even remember what the code is to like block caller ID. It shows caller ID blocked, basically.
Wouldn't they be able to subpoena Vince McMahon's phone records and get what he has sent?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The spoof wouldn't come from Vince's phone. Like that comes from a different phone. So
they even said
Vince
she had a phone. In the lawsuit, it said she had like a business phone that was given to her for a lot of this stuff. A lot of the, you know, like porn that they had her make, basically.
Yeah.
Now I'm acting like prosecution,
could be.
Which basically means you can put anyone's number in there or pretend to be anyone's number and push it in. I doubt.
Yeah, but from his phone records or her phone records, you can't spoof that from a record if the phone company sends it to you.
I hope not, but I think to make sure they'd need to compel Vince to give up his phone to confirm.
Like if I called you and blocked it, and then you went in, you like logged into your call list like through your phone company's website, it would show on your end that I blocked it. On my end, it would show that I called you.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it would say an outgoing.
Yeah, on my end it would. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they would need to get very legal with that, in that sense, to confirm.
Nicholas Rose asked, why is this guy just holding what looks like a turd the entire time? That's a cigar.
Yeah. Some people just love to have the cigar and they kind of chew on it a little bit.
Yeah.
And
after hearing the story of Vince pooping on this girl's head, I think people think he's just holding a dried turd.
There's just so much poop involved here. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. Yeah.
This will hang around.
Years.
You think so? I don't think so. Hey, Vince is 80 now. How long can it hang around before he just kicks the bucket?
Well, and I think his mother lived like to 100 or something.
Yeah, but see, she didn't have the pressure of this on her. Now he's got this. Now, I think even more than the company, he wants to salvage his reputation. But I think that is unsalvageable at this point. I don't think. I think anybody that looks at Vince now is going to think of this.
A rapist and a shit freak. Yeah.
And John Laurinaitis can hang it up. He's already done there anyway.
Oh, yeah. He was never an asset, in my opinion, anyway. It sucked when they tried to make him an on-screen character. I thought he was terrible.
Yeah, it seems now you know why. Now you know why he got all those pushes and all that work and all that.
Because he was having... I wonder if... It doesn't say in the lawsuit that Vince did anything with the other men involved, though. I wonder if it did happen, though. If that goes to court, that would come out.
And even if you're having threesomes, that's even
the
if you're not
balls are
doing
touching
stuff with the men.
The balls
you're
are
doing.
touching.
You're doing the act with those guys. They're your cohorts. They're your accomplices.
But I'm wondering if Vince took some in the mouth or like stuck it into a male butt or, you know.
I didn't think of that at all. Dave Valinsky in our super chat us saying, I once accidentally vomited in Brock Lesnar's dorm room at the University of Minnesota. Luckily, he wasn't there. Dude, Dave, are you going to admit to that now?
By the way,
what if he finds you?
To all of you sending in the super chats, we really appreciate it. I would ask if you would be so kind. We are actually only at 6% of our goal. If any one of you would like to start a tip train, please help us out and use the link pinned in the chat to send us a couple bucks. Thank you.
You have to wonder if you have a class action lawsuit, if you worked for WWE under John Laurinaitis and he pressured you into doing things. I wonder if there's going to be a big lawsuit that comes out shortly after all of this to say, you know, like he did this with many other people. And if he was put under there by Vince, it would be interesting to see where this goes. Like this could, like we know she was given $3 million to stay quiet, but there was
she was given $1 and promised $3.
Well, she was promised $3, but there was $14 million promised here. So there's more. There's more people they're covered up through all this.
Yeah, we'll see.
I don't know what
people
kind
who
of
may not have came forward at all.
If he got anything, but I'm sure he did. If Vince had anything to do about it, he's still trying to. And John could even turn on Vince to save his own ass. I mean, you're going to have a lot of rats back and forth, and you know when they're Vince is the one they want to get. He's the one. That's what she's going after. And I don't know if she's the way you describe it. He couldn't pay her the other $2 million.
He could. He didn't.
They were already on to
it. Tween, bud.
Tween.
Tip Twain, bud.
With the Tip Twain.
No.
We look at we look at the I wonder what the timeline is with John Laurinaitis taking over as talent relations and Shane McMahon leaving the company. What if Shane left because he felt like maybe that should have been his job?
No idea. I don't know how that lined up.
I've described it is that he may have not paid the other $2 million because the board had already been made aware of these allegations, and maybe Vince blamed Ms. Grant for leaking this information and therefore decided not to pay.
Okay. So out of vengeance, he was mad. Screw her. Mm-hmm. I'm not doing it.
Exactly.
And I can understand that reaction too. But you don't pay somebody millions of dollars if they don't have something on you.
Yeah.
And he paid something like 17 million or 19 million. I guess if he paid the other 2 million, it would have been 19 million. If they don't have anything on you.
I heard so far.
And how much did you think Endeavor knew about this? They had to know about it before they entered the deal, don't you think?
I think the board knew far more details than were released, and then when Endeavor and WWE merged, I'll guarantee that like Ari Emanuel and some of the other higher ups and Nick Khan knew far more. But I don't think they knew all of this. I don't think they had this level of detail from any of the accusations, I imagine.
Let's say you're going to buy the entire catalog of Harvey Weinstein's films, right? Let's say you're going to buy the Weinstein Company. Let's say you're going to buy a property full of art, talent, media, content from somebody who did a bad thing. Does that taint the content?
It does for some people. I guess that's everyone's choice. How they well, some people can't choose how they feel about it. I guess. I don't know.
I don't think anybody can explain this.
I don't think there's many Cosby Show reruns being played these days. You know,
it was a good show too.
It was the most popular show on TV when I was a kid.
From Vince's side, because he just, it sounds bad. It is bad. And the sponsors, I don't think they want to be associated with it. I don't blame
Coral
them.
Cola is asking, did the accusation come out recently or did it come out in the 2000s, but it went under the radar for a couple of decades? These accusations they happened like 3 years ago.
I think she started working there in 2018, and I think for like
I think
a
it was
couple of years.
2019, but it could be 2018.
Yeah, I think she started because I read the whole thing. She started working for the company in 2018, I believe. I don't know. I'd have to pull it up. But yeah,
I think it was 2019 is when she met him, but I could be wrong.
But I think they got to Slim Jim, but said, okay, that may have been the reason he resigned.
Oh yeah, I think so.
I think we'll come back if he goes. If he will announce he's resigning. See, there's a cause and effect in all this. Everything that if you back it up, I haven't done it on a timeline. This happened. Why did this happen? Why did Stephanie all of a sudden just quit?
Yeah, it was 2019.
Yeah,
It's
she knew.
2022.
Because she was on the board, and everybody knew anyway. And she must have known enough to not want to get that stink of being associated with a dad on it.
Why did Kevin Dunn quit? Just because he had a lot of heat anyway. But he said, well, this is a perfect time to quit. And probably got a hell of a severance package.
Yeah, I think he's worth 9 figures. I bet he's worth 9 figures. He's got stock options. He's paid very well.
See, here's the other. This is the other picture of her that I've seen. It's obviously the same girl.
She's not the little green thing with a red hat, right?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. It was
Trump Park.
Yeah. That was the name of the
residence. Yeah.
This is why I said 2018 because that's when this article is from. But she wasn't working there yet. But it was it's the name of the building, and it's in Stamford.
Are those her parents with her, or are those just?
Probably just other people. I don't think those are her parents. No, it was like people who. It was event co-chair Janelle Grant, Darlene McDowell, and Annie Catcher, and it was like a fundraiser.
The Boys and Girls Club where they got backpacks.
Yeah.
And some crayons.
He'll be worth $50 million plus.
So, but if you do a cause and effect on a timeline, this happened because of this leaked here and this leaked here. And I think Triple E got into power a lot easier than I thought he would.
Triple E?
They had that on Vince.
That's what he calls Triple H?
Yeah, I think he's talking about Los Angeles comedian Sam Tripoli.
They threatened him or whatever, but it all came down to that this is going to come out. So I wonder how much notice did you think Vince had of this or his attorneys?
The day, well, I believe the board was.
How much of this do you think Vince knew about?
I will get there in a very brief thing. Let me just get through this. Another sexual assault from Vince McMahon. NDA cajoled, finally signed. Gets paid $1 million up front, etc. News of the NWA
NWA. He's always thinking wrestling.
Putting over the wrong company, dude.
Yeah. We'll move on. I got a little bit of Eric Bischoff talking about it. Eric Bischoff is like, I don't even want to talk about this.
Okay, let's talk about. We know The Rock is now a board member, and now we need to start figuring out the who, what, when, where, why of the last week. Because as Rock comes on the board, just a couple of days later, the lawsuit goes public. I know that names are out there now, but I'm still going to just leave that out. But we know that a victim has come forward, and I believe this is the very first tip-off the Wall Street Journal had during the summer of 2022, where all of this first started to come to light. But now we have much more specific.
Why does he want to look like a movie villain?
He's with 70 something, right?
Yeah.
Like maybe he doesn't know. Maybe he thinks he's hot.
way, way more specific information than any of us ever expected or imagined
or wanted.
I have to be honest with you, Eric. I've been in a bit of a head funk since Thursday. You actually sent me a screen grab of something on social media when I was at the airport boarding my plane to Tampa. I quickly found the court document, downloaded it to my phone, and read it on the flight to Tampa. And every page I read, it seemingly got worse and worse. I don't know what I expected, but I didn't expect that. And I've really had a hard time sort of wrapping my head around it and reconciling my fandom and everything this affects in the entire space. I'm really struggling to find the words, Eric.
Where did his belt collection go? Okay. Conrad Thompson. He's Ric Flair's son-in-law, and he's also like a big-time wrestling memorabilia collector and podcaster. And usually that thing behind him has tons of actual belts, not replica belts, like the actual belts that Ric Flair and various wrestlers wore when they were champions. He would like buy their belts from them. And there's
looks like they're gone.
You can see the little stands that the belts go on right
you think
there.
He had to defend them in a match and got beat by
I
all
don't
of them?
think so. I don't think he's ever been in a match. That'd be awesome.
I am too. And it's one of the reasons why, just to be honest with our audience, I had a difficult time yesterday. We sat down to record this podcast, and I felt like a blithering idiot because I couldn't find the words to articulate or express how I was truly feeling, because I didn't know how I was feeling. I was nauseous, not physically, but I felt like I should be nauseous. Let's put it that way. It's still difficult. And I think for me, and I've been able to kind of think through it, knowing we were going to do this show again today, it's like, all right, you've got to be able to share how you feel about this. And I think here's the best I can come up with, man. At the core of this story, the very core of the story, and it was included in some of the information that I sent you, which was the court documents and the complaint. It wasn't anything, that anybody else didn't have.
No.
It's evil. And even that word doesn't really do it justice. But it's just sick. And I mean mentally, emotionally sick, and evil. And the victim, because I know all the haters are going to, oh, but he didn't say enough about her.
You think Vince like got off on being a heel, like being like the evil heel?
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably got off on a lot of stuff.
Huh.
I can't
He's
imagine
a pervert.
What she's going to go through for the rest of her life. I'll pray for her that she finds the right spiritual guidance and mental health guidance, because this is never going to leave her. She will be carrying this memory around for the rest of her life. And I can't imagine that. I can't even try to imagine it, because self-preservation kicks in and I force myself to stop thinking about it. And I feel so bad for the people that are innocent, because this is just such a dark cloud over everything that's WWE right now.
Yeah.
Now, I do believe that that's going to change, not sooner than later. It's going to change, but it's going to take time. But there are so many innocent people that are affected by this. And at the epicenter, obviously friends and family members, like close friends, close family members of the victims, as well as the McMahons. I mean, I'm friends with Shane. I think of Stephanie in a very high regard right now.
I think of her in a very high regard.
And Linda McMahon. I mean, these are people that I've met and have worked with
and I've seen how they've treated others. And they're having to bear this as well.
Bischoff's whole look here is interesting. The backwards baseball cap. He lost a bet, so he had to shave he got his head shaved like a few days before this happened, before this was recorded. And his glasses do look like safety goggles. He's got an interesting style about him, you know?
Looks like he's about to cook some blue crystal meth.
And the people that work there are so many people that we know, both of us know. They're there, that are working hard every day, that are good family people, honest people, contribute to society, help others. I mean, really good people that I know there personally, and they're affected by this. I think, and to your point a little earlier, you've had a hard time reconciling your fandom and how you feel about the company and how you feel about being a wrestling fan at this point. I feel the same way. I've had thoughts cross my mind of like, maybe it's just time for me to walk away from all this.
That's correct. Like, so, you know, that's saying a lot when Eric Bischoff, who's still, you know, is in the podcasting part of wrestling, like he's not working in the industry directly, but he still has a place in it. He's like, maybe I should just walk away from this now. It's that bad.
Yeah.
That does say a lot.
Yeah, it gets pretty gross. There's a whole lot of, from the top down, there's a lot of room for people to take advantage of people who are willing to do, you know, whatever it takes, and whatever it takes becomes more than you should legally ask of somebody. This is not just a WWF thing, not just a Vince McMahon thing. In the wrestling industry, you know, this could happen at an indie federation, small level local fucking wrestling show. They have some things like this going on.
Maybe it's gotten to the point where I just don't want to be associated with it anymore. Now, fortunately, I know myself well enough to know that that's a fleeting moment. It's just kind of like the state of shock, I guess, so that I'm in, and wondering about some of the people that I know and love that work there, and wondering how they're dealing with it. I don't want to call them and ask them. I haven't talked to Bruce. I want to. We've exchanged a few texts.
We know Conrad's talked to Bruce.
But they're processing right now.
I don't think Bruce should have to say anything about it unless his name comes up in any of the like court stuff. I don't think he'll want to say anything about it.
He doesn't have to. Sounds like he was pretty close with McMahon.
Yeah. He's been working for him for a very long time.
They're hopefully they're with the people that are closest to them, and they'll get through this too. We're all going to get through this. When I say we all, I mean wrestling fans and you and I, and trying to reconcile how we feel about all this. We're all going to get through it just fine. WWE is big enough and strong enough. It will survive this. Not easily, not without incurring some pain, not without some serious issues. Look, let's be honest. This is not the end of this story. This story will continue to evolve. We don't know how much. We don't know if there'll be other people coming out of the woodwork as a result of this. There's just a lot we don't know. We can't predict. The only thing I would say is I doubt that it's going to go away soon. And hopefully, once again, I'm wrong. I'd love for it to just go away.
They say more about it, but yeah, I mean, you kind of get how he feels about it.
Yeah.
I saw Eric Bischoff in person, and he was super funny, like really funny guy. And he sat at the bar with like all the fans and had a drink and everything. Pretty cool guy. We got so we saw when Jim Cornette was live when he got the news about Vince McMahon in the last video we watched about it. And this is him and his co-host. They got a lot of shit for laughing when they were reading everything, but it was just like a new thing coming out. Like the story had literally just dropped while they reacted to it. So they were like, what is this? Because it sounds like a crazy movie or something, you know?
Yeah.
Or like a Lifetime original. Remember those Lifetime original movies with like the super evil man character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or like the weird, crazy mom that's like locking her child up in a little box.
Yep.
Before we get into this story with Mr. McMahon,
His melted face,
who has now been replaced or replaced Satan on the all-time hit list of people who want to burn him in hot boiling oil.
And well-deserved, allegedly.
What, do we have to say
well-deserved, allegedly?
Allegedly at this point. I guess it still hadn't been
allegedly
adjudicated.
well-deserved.
If it's still on the payroll.
I like how he said well-deserved and then allegedly.
We have to say allegedly.
No, Jerry McDaniel, unless he's discovered the fountain of youth, he's not going to live long enough to get Vince McMahon out of any of this shit. And I'm betting you he's got his telephone disconnected. He's clipped the fucking cord. But at any rate, whether it's alleged or not, Vince has so much heat. You and I got some of his fucking heat. And I will tell the people what happened, because the other day we had just finished. We were still on headset with each other talking, had finished recording one of the 18 shows we do every week, when suddenly the Wall Street Journal headline popped up on your computer, and we were still going, and we said, we'll do a breaking news for the YouTube people. What the fuck's going on here? Vince is getting sued again. And as we read this, I don't know what to say to you folks otherwise than, goddamn it, if you can read in the Wall Street Journal that an internationally famous billionaire that you once worked for is being hauled into court and sued for, among other things, shitting on somebody's head, you're going to fucking laugh. And potentially at that point, the whole thing becomes a fucking rib. So I apologize for my first blush, but here's another thing. As we've come to find out more details, because a lot of people, by the time that they listen to this thing,
my first response is like, it sounds like a joke that someone made up.
Well, I mean, I laugh about all types of stuff that's this horrible and beyond all the time. I make jokes about stuff that's this horrible and beyond all the time. I don't know if they do. Their audience might expect different from them. They're old men that are going to have a completely different perspective on this than most people. You can judge them. All they have to say is, we were just getting the information off the bat, and we reacted under the idea that it was shocking, and that shockingness led us to soften the shock with humor. That's what some people do. They could say that. They could say what they're doing now. It really doesn't matter. People are going to want you to react a certain way, and when you don't react the way they want you to react, they're going to react a certain way.
It's the react police.
The comments on either Twitter or the YouTube channel, there's some fucking people, again, on this issue that are just goddamn with a lack of taste on a variety of points, that were blaming this girl, this young lady, because I think that's, in addition to the people that were hot at us, we're saying we're the worst human beings in the world because we were laughing at and making mockery of this thing after they'd read the complaint, because now the complaint is out in public. But there's also people that, unfortunately, they see this shit on television and they figure, well, this is another one of the cases of the Hollywood producer getting his girlfriend apart in a fucking movie, or, fucking pushing her to goddamn the moon on the stage or whatever the fuck, or some kind of business arrangement gone wrong. And most normal people that live, even you and me that are not normal, but live somewhat rational fucking lives and don't deal with tens and hundreds of millions of dollars, and they see shit on TV about NDAs and hush money payoffs and millions of dollar payments going on and fucking BMWs being bandied about, and they think, well, everybody's full of shit. Fuck all these people. And because of what happened last year, Vince was outed with the hush money payments and all that shit or now the year before, I guess. People never could figure. We made jokes about the illegal paralegal, and somebody, everybody assumed that, well, Vince gets girlfriends. And
I don't know if she was, I think she was like an accountant or something. I don't know if she was a paralegal, but maybe she was. Maybe that's.
Maybe there was another one. Maybe, there's multiple people we're talking about here.
He's got them on the side, and then he gives them jobs.
Yeah, he shouldn't have given them jobs.
And pays them a bunch of money and whatever the fuck, and he was paying his girlfriends with company money. Well, they're all a bunch of heels. But when you read the actual, and how do you is this public? The complaint, the lawsuit, whatever the terminology is, okay, then everybody ought to go read this. This wasn't a case of Vince went to fucking, St. Petersburg and found some stripper at a goddamn Hooters or whatever and gave her
Hooters in St.
job in the legal department.
Yeah.
This girl,
not an Applebee's, though.
And remember, when you asked me on the clip, because I'd seen a black and white picture, and I said, what can she be, 30? And I was kind of giving it the benefit of the doubt to the elder side because he fucking 75. But then you said, well, I don't know, she looks younger than that. I saw the color picture. I said, you're right. We think she was 21.
So Jim Cornette has this theory that she's 21. I don't know where he's getting that from.
Is he saying he thinks she's 21, or he's saying he thought she was 21 when he saw the colored photo of her?
Based on what he says in this video, because he keeps talking.
Is he saying that when he was reacting, he thought she was really young, or?
We've got to verify that because there's been some kind of other reports. You thought she was in her early 40s. And
the newspaper said flat out, I saw, I think, a New York Post and somewhere else that she was 43 and that she was 41 a couple of years ago when all this happened.
Well, bullshit. So the point is, she's a very young girl that's never had a job or worked out in the real world because she's been taking care of her ailing parents that have passed away. They've lost a family home in bankruptcy. This is like goddamn Dorothy in Kansas. It's a tragedy. And because she lives in this building where she knows the building manager says, well, you ought to meet Vince McMahon. He's a billionaire. Maybe he could help you, give you a job in his company, because she doesn't know what to do. So that's where she's not experienced in any of these things and suddenly gets in with this master fucking manipulator. And we've talked about, Vince's Jedi mind tricks with the wrestlers on getting them to do finishes or talking them out of shit. But when you read this lawsuit, it's like a horror movie. It's insane the way
it's mind games. It was him playing mind games.
No, that trivializes it.
But that's how it started.
Goddamn! I can't believe he had to be writing shit down to do to this, to prey on her mind like this. This wasn't any kind of frivolous. I'm sorry, again, any kind of frivolous arrangement with some Hooters girl. This was this poor girl that's obviously disturbed mentally about numerous things, and here comes this billionaire handing her all this shit and telling her she's going to be a vice president.
I wouldn't even say disturbed mentally. It's a girl, and we don't know exactly how old because of the conflicting things. Who's going through a ton of shit.
Wouldn't it disturb you if your parents had died and they were bankrupt?
But it signifies something else when you phrase it like that. You can't say she's disturbed mentally.
Upset.
She says someone who's obviously going through an incredible ordeal emotionally. And it appears based on what you read in the complaint, and again, like you have talked about, it's out there public, anyone could see it. She goes into detail about their first meeting. It was like a 2-hour meeting in his apartment, his penthouse. And it was all him trying
in his underwear
to relate to her. All him trying to relate her hardships to everything he experienced growing up. And that's how it started.
And this, number one, I talked about, in previous episodes, plenty of time, how the times that I was around Vince McMahon, his contact with anybody was so limited, besides the limo to the fucking show, to the office, to the fucking, it boggles my mind what has happened to. Is it a combination of late stage? I guess I don't know if late stage were late age concussions. He started getting concussions after the age of 50, and all the fucking human growth hormone and testosterone or whatever the fuck.
Or maybe he was always doing this with people he worked around, and you never noticed it because you were too busy working. Like, we have a history of allegations against people working at V with there was Pat Patterson allegations for the longest time. There was like you could say you never saw him. He was always busy, but if he's doing this to people he has on the payroll, he could easily make time for this.
And
or you were around him during the one brief period of time where he acted like an adult in between the steroid trial and all the scandals of the early 90s and the Attitude Era, when he was the most behaved, where he seemed at a time he got off steroids and he just seemed like a skinny guy who was in shape. He seemed like he was growing up. And then they threw $1 billion at him and a publicly traded stock.
Well, no. First he got in the ring. And then the fucking body went out of control, and then he got $1 billion.
Well, he was on steroids in the 80s and 90s. He got off them for a few years. Again, had scandals everywhere. It was the sex scandal. It was the steroid trial. And then we don't know if this is something that's been in his behavior.
Roboter says Piper got turned out when he first got in the industry, and Piper was not one to lie. I think Piper may have been one to lie. In general, there was a lot of things that were questioned from him at times.
I think he admitted he lied about that.
Huh.
What do they mean by turned out specifically?
When he was early in the wrestling, he was forced to have sex with bookers.
Yeah. Let me see here.
Going how far back? Like, we just don't know. This is one story we're hearing about. You have to wonder if this is really the first time he's done any of these things or something that he's become accustomed to. We really don't know. But I don't think it's fair to assume that this is just something he started doing in his 70s out of boredom or anything.
Well, and how could you start doing this in your fucking 70s? I mean, it's just that's with Vince. During the time that I was there, being in a room with him was like being in a fucking room with the principal. You know, I can't fathom this behavior, and from that and from the people around him. But dealing chronologically with this thing, he put time and effort into this plot against this girl, constantly meeting her, constantly giving her gifts, letting her go to WrestleMania, her and her building manager.
And the guy to Ravina says, I love Piper, but he lied about the locker room incident with Nash. I mean, that's what I was bringing up too.
Oh.
But I'm also a Nash mark, so maybe Nash was lying, but it did seem like that was corroborated that he was not telling the truth about that.
These jobs, and then set it up, and then put her in these places where not only did she not have anything to do, and she didn't know what she was supposed to be doing for all this money, but apparently most of the people that she was working under knew that she was there not to do anything. They didn't say anything.
They're like, oh, that's that girl Vince hired so he can bang her.
Yeah. Well, also, she was working under John Laurinaitis. Maybe they assumed that she was doing things.
2 years into it.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
What was her initial position when she was brought in?
So I believe it was accounting. I think they hired her for the accounting department, and people noticed that they were all busy and she was like hardly ever busy, you know? And then they moved her to when McMahon decided to pawn her off on Laurinaitis, he moved her over to talent relations. Where she had relations with talent.
Coerces her at again. We're not going to go blow by blow on this now with this ridiculous shit. But I mean, I can't imagine being in the building 25 years ago when I was in that office and There's shit going on any remotely resembling this, and people not obviously knowing about it, and how they were able to keep
People
it
aren't
under
going to
fucking
know about it in general. You have to hide it from people, especially from Cornette, who is the known office kinkster pervert. You don't want to let that guy in on that. You're probably worse than he is, because he'll tell everybody because he's open about it.
cover indicates that a number of people.
The reason why
just,
so many Republicans get outed as being sickos, they are putting on this image that they would never do such a thing because they're strictly hiding that they do such things.
Fuck sickos.
Didn't give a shit.
Makes it clear from reading the complaint, although there are a number of parties unnamed, and we can discuss that in a little while, that company-wide or executive-wide, there was a long time.
All right, you know what? I have someone else's take on this that I want to share just for a couple minutes here.
Dude, tell me it's the ghost of Ultimate Warrior.
Nope.
Shit.
Holler if you hear me, and welcome to this week's edition of Luke Covers, where we are going to be actually going out here since the snow has been coming down, and we are going to be doing a little bit of enjoyment right here, enjoying a bit of the outdoors while we still can, since the snow has stopped for a little bit. And, well, a little bit of problems, a little bit of snowfall, that's certainly a lot better
Winston
than the
Smith
big amount of
says
problems.
Fatty is a liberal, LOL. If you're talking about me, I'm actually an extreme Nazi left wing. I just don't hide the fact that I'm a sicko like you pussy bitch conservatives do. Come be a hardcore Nazi sicko like me, you hidden bitch conservative that does hidden bitch sicko shit because you're not man enough to admit the fact that you like to suck dudes in bathroom stalls. Loser. Don't dump on me, bitch.
Well. After all this recent time of hearing that there is this going to be a 10-year, $5 billion deal between the WWE and Netflix. That
Is he gay? Does he have the hiccups?
Starting in 2025.
I believe.
When you really look at it, beyond the big headline of this deal that the parent company of the WWE, which not too long ago, TKO, came and now took over WWE from it just being something that Vince McMahon and family was in charge of completely. Now they've got a parent company. And also beyond Netflix, there is also what happens with The Rock now being on the board of directors at TKO. Not too long after the big announcement of him and his XFL now are merging with the USFL to have just one big springtime football league. We've now got other things that involves the man behind the power, the man who is the power at WWE. Yes, Mr. Vincent Kennedy McMahon. Well,
he put an A at the beginning of Vince's name. Vincent Kennedy.
Oh, well.
A preacher to the choir?
Got an ex-employee
basically
who is coming in for a little back pay.
Why does he have a shopping cart in his backyard? Is he stealing shopping carts?
Dude, I bet. Yeah.
It's
He
one of
probably
those.
doesn't have a car.
Back.
See it? It's one of those double-decker shopping carts.
It's a little wee boy shopping carts. He walks to the store, buys his groceries, comes back with the wee boy shopping cart, gets it in the backyard, puts his groceries in, and keeps it back there so the police don't see that he's borrowing a shopping cart for his groceries.
Pay, or as she should really properly say, pay back when it comes to what she's alleging in the court documents that are out now in this lawsuit, where she's got some things to say.
He's got his Detroit Lions gear on.
That are outright morbidly funny in how messed up they are. It's almost as if everything that you've seen from the Attitude Era up until around 2006 or 7 or so that Vince McMahon was doing on camera, right there as the Mr. McMahon, every bit of it, yeah, it's almost like the reason why people who really are the basic bitch kind of smart marks of wrestling, who want to tell you over and over that the best wrestling personas are just the real personality with the volume turned up. Although a good portion of those pro wrestlers out there, if you take away some big gimmick, they have a personality that's even less than your typical present-day Hollywood actress who has the acting range of looking constipated or having resting bitch face. in between their monotone whispers and vacant stares. So you go to wrestlers and, well, maybe you need a little bit of a creative department to give them something to do or say. Because if you're not, you're just left with somebody who can go around and pretend to have a big throttling match with another guy for about 20, 25 minutes. That's really, really boring unless you really, really are the kind of person who puts way too much personal investment into trying to take the act of people simulating violence against each other that damn seriously to the point of it not being healthy.
What has he said?
It's a big run-on sentence, but I think at the end of all this, he's saying that we're taking wrestling too seriously by getting angry at Vince McMahon.
This has nothing to. I mean, like, it has to do with a company whose product is wrestling, but this has nothing to do with the actual wrestling.
Well, I know is his last line says that people are taking a company about fake fighting too seriously.
I mean,
so he's saying if you think McMahon is a bad guy, you're taking this fake wrestling thing too seriously.
Oh, is it just part of the fake wrestling?
I don't know. That's the last line I heard from him.
Reason a guy like good old Dustin Runnels was a guy who got a career based off of being the son of a big time wrestler
who was the son of a plumber,
and he was great in the ring.
By the way, thank you. Can someone get us to like at least 10%? Can you guys band together and start a tip train? In about 5 minutes or so, we're gonna watch this movie. As part of our Patreon.
And
patrons $10 and above can join us for the film. If you're not a patron $10 and above, you might think about doing it.
Water outside of anything else, but then became a big name act, an all-time Hall of Famer on his own merits once he came over to Vince McMahon, and in the mid-90s they decided to make him into an ambiguously gay parody of old-time Hollywood, dressed in gold and massaging his opponents and doing weird promos where instead of just going in there yelling about who's going to beat them up, he's talking about them in the most erotic...
The grapes are real.
Dude, that's so messed up. I love grapes.
Grapes are delicious.
Really intense way possible while massaging himself, and in every fourth sentence going...
Kendall, you do that so well. Dude.
Why is he bringing this up anyway?
Look at this.
He's literally just bringing this up so he can put on gay face and do the gold dust mannerisms.
Yep.
And guess what? It worked. Yes, Dustin Runnels put you to sleep unless you're one of those 5 people that still takes idiots like Dave Meltzer or racist asswipes who gloat about threatening women and threatening black men with N-bombs to their face.
None of this is true. There's no way he put you to sleep. You literally brought up his name and then did his gay sex mannerism that he would taunt people with. There's no way he put you to sleep if 20-something years later you're copying that by memory.
Gold Dust.
You're a suspect. You're highly sus. Luke
is amazing. We'll always remember Gold Dust in the wrestling world. It's sort of like the world of the comic book world where there is a lot of money to be made in it. Trust me, when you look at just the sheer significance of the branding of WWF, it's very comparable to Marvel and DC Comics with all the decades of history of memorable personalities, memorable storylines, memorable matches, memorable battles, all this stuff. And when you really look at it, if you look at the present day, a lot of what is there, you see like these wrestling pay-per-views, which could be the equivalent to what happens with these Comic-Cons, whether they're in Indiana, if it's the big one of San Diego, if it's New York, or if it's the one in Chicago, C2E2, or the one I'll be going to in February, which is the Great Lakes Comic-Con. It's almost always based off of things that happen.
Oh, damn, we got to go to Great Lakes Comic-Con.
I think that Orlando MegaCon Comic Con is going to have the Soska sisters and Eric July.
And Sturgis?
Coming up. He might go.
And Sturge?
He might go. I kind of want to go to Orlando for MegaCon just to go take a picture with Eric July.
Someone get me a screenshot of this, because this needs, this is perfect. This is perfect for a thumbnail. Oh, God. All right.
Decades ago, you go into the conventions and you see mostly the shirts, or you see the hats, or you see the costumes. It's all based off of decades away personalities, and almost nothing to do with the present day people, the present day characters.
When is this Comic-Con that you were talking about?
I'm not sure when. I just know it's Orlando MegaCon. It's supposed to be coming up in the next soon. I just saw a picture of it, and it was like the Soska sisters and Eric July and a bunch of other Rippaverse.
Is it like during the? Oh God, it's like tomorrow, right?
Oh shit, that's way sooner than I thought.
It says February 1st through 4th.
Damn.
Yeah, so it's
Eric's supposed to be there this Sunday, I guess. So if anybody's in Orlando and wants to meet Eric July, go Sunday for the Eric July meetup. Get a picture with Rippa.
It's almost nothing with Riri Williams and almost all of it with Iron Man. And well, with wrestling, you'll find those where you see, the big name at the time is now Mr. Roman Reigns, who's been the heavyweight champion and one of the longest running title reigns with the belt. He's now the 4th longest running with thousands of days, because that's how they measure pro wrestling title reigns. They don't go by, numbers of defenses or anything. It's really a matter of days consecutively. Since one thing that pro wrestling has over other forms of entertainment is the fact that it takes place in real time. The fact that the way storylines play out, they don't do that sort of thing like with Marvel or DC Comics, where either they got to go and have a separate universe, or they got to go.
All right. Yeah, I was looking at this MegaCon to see who's going to be there. They got some cool guests at this for sure.
The Soska sisters will be there.
That's not who I'm talking about. Like Marissa Tomei.
Yeah,
Susan
Gina Davis, Susan Sarandon.
Yeah,
Thelma and Louise duo.
Yeah.
Michael J. Fox.
Yeah.
Tom Hiddleston. Did you see the Soska sisters recently got they found old videos of them in like a really disgusting torture sick adult fetish video?
Was Vince McMahon there?
No, but Eric July made a response to it. Eric July was like, we're not gonna respond to cancel culture.
They're gonna have
Rippaverse.
Holy shit, Jamie Farr's gonna be there. And Hot Lips from MASH.
Man, they're mashing it up.
Yeah, that's very strange.
Gina Carano will be there. I wonder if she'll get a picture with the Rippa.
Inconceivable.
There's a lot of great. Jamie Presley's gonna be there.
Shat.
Had a crush.
There's gonna be some Shat
on
there
her when I was a kid.
Do you think
Shatner showing
is
up?
into shatting on people?
He might be, dude. It might just be a thing from that day and age. Oh my God, they got the Entourage cast there. Let's go. The Doctor Who River
Alyssa
Song.
Milano.
Yeah, this is actually stacked.
Yeah.
This is a lot of fucking people. Boba Fett's gonna be there.
Shannon Doherty.
Randy Quaid.
Jason Priestley.
Jason Lee. We're both naming off different Jasons.
Jasons, yeah.
Yeah, this is
Don
deep, dude.
Bluth.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Ethan Suppley's gonna be there.
Tony Danza and Jonathan Frakes canceled. Yeah, this is
actually. Oh, come on, Jonathan Frakes. T-Dans. I see some Scientology representation in here, huh?
Of course.
Huh?
Of course. Amazing.
Can't believe Jason Frakes canceled.
All right.
That was pretty deep, dude.
Yeah. Oh, here's Brett Keane. Brett Keane is on some panel, and this guy comes in and calls Brett Keane out.
Are you on the atheist side or the believer side?
I am a non-believer.
Okay. Obviously not militant.
Earlier I was listening to you guys talking about like people trying to ruin other people's lives.
Hey, and did you notice after all those celebrities they showed, not one of them was Eric July?
Right. Yeah, that was the celebrity list. He probably just has like a booth, like a table there.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is really important what this guy says here.
Militant.
Earlier I was listening to you guys talking about like people trying to ruin other people's live streams and stuff, and it's ironic that you have Brett on here, I think, because he's actually done that. He did it last year.
I mean,
he went
I
onto
think-
someone's channel and was playing porn on it to try and
He went on someone else's channel and he played the TJ Banana video on their channel to try and get their channel taken down.
get them banned.
I have history with Brett having some shenanigans with me too, but truthfully, I think a lot of people have done things that they're probably not proud of. I know
he's proud of that.
Certainly, recently, I've done some very immature things that was
I just thought it was
embarrassing
kind
to
of
own up to.
ironic.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
if you remember, Stephen, I showed you how to actually clean things up and put things in really quick. So I thought you were going to go, that's funny, and then just fix it in a matter of 5 seconds. Like I showed you. As far as the other person was talking pretty nasty about my family members. So yeah, I did something with TJ Kirk, the Amazing Atheist, on the screen. But that was a little bit longer than a year ago. I think it was a few years ago.
I think you did it to Mrs. Parker.
Yeah, and I'd be honest with you, don't really care.
Hey, I wanted to bring something up, and I don't want to overstep my bounds because I'm here for the first time in a long time. Brett's here for the first time in a long time. I don't think I've been introduced to the gentleman at the bottom of the chat, but I hear you say things like forgiveness, and that's wonderful, but Brett, you said you don't care, and this guy has a concern about that. I mean, I think you should be a little more sincere than that. I mean,
No,
and like I said, I'm not trying to stomp all over you and try and put you on the spot, but
I don't care what you think. I really don't.
Look, man, I'm really trying to be mature about this, Brett. I really am. I want to have these conversations where we can discuss.
All right, Steven, I'm out. I'm not going to listen to
I'm going to go ahead and mute both of y'all real quick.
I wish you'd stick around a little bit, Brett.
So that was that. And he ran away because he was getting pressed. It's
someone was messing with his family, Ben.
His family. That person called out my family. Called out my family. Shit. I also have 2 of these that I hadn't seen before.
This doesn't even deserve a cool intro with guitars and stuff, because it's like serious. The inside and outside tour I did at Butthead's house went like viral, and now Butthead's mad at me. He's blaming at me. I mean, I guess it's my fault, but I want everything about Butthead's house off the internet. I'll kick your ass, I'll blow up your toilet, I'll do everything in my power. Let's get it off the internet. Hey, Beavis. What? Turn that damn thing off. I don't care what you do, just get that stuff off there tonight. I'm working on it, man. Then work on it, dillhole. I am! Holy crap, Beavis. Do you, realize if the health department, finds all those damn pictures you took, they're gonna, condemn my house and stuff.
It's not the greatest, but it's here's another one. Here's another one I dug up.
Pika Pikachu, Pika 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 Pikachu, Pika Pika Pikachu, Pika Pika Pikachu, Pika Pikachu, Pika 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 Pikachu, Pikachu, Pika Pikachu, Pika Pika Pikachu, Pikachu, Pika Pika, Pika Pikachu, Pikachu, Pika. Right to right, 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 right to right.
There's so many of these now, it's ridiculous. There's a Japanese one that's very uncomfortable.
Oh.
Yeah. I played it for Asterios and he didn't like it.
Oh.
Yeah. Hearken to me. Hearken to me. All right, we are going to go right now and do our monthly Patreon movie review. It's for all patrons, $10 and up. You can go to patreon.com/DP and sign up. And you
$10 and above.
Yeah,
Come watch the movie with us tonight. Click the link, patreon.com/DP.
Yeah. We are going to do that now. Here we go.
Bye.
In the beginning, there was nothing. And then there was the Drunken Peasants Podcast.
Drunken Peasants. Drunken Peasants. Drunken Peasants. Drunken Peasants. From the strangest corners of the internet, gonna get TP'd by Billy and Ben. You know where you can find them at. Get ready, cause they're gonna kick your... Drunken Peasants. Drunken Peasants. Drunken Peasants. Drunken Peasants.